Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies, and we have a Philadelphia Phillies offseason controversy. Instigate. Yes, it makes sense because Joc Pederson had a very interesting Instagram post today, and oh my goodness, now we have a whole bunch of he said, she said, he's signing, he's not signing, all over social media. What in the world's going on with the Philadelphia Phillies? I'll give you everything that I know in the latest breakdown on Joc Pederson's whereabouts. And we'll also discuss how he would fit with this team and latest rumors from the winter meetings on today's episode of Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas, your host. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for checking us out. Really appreciate it. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff. Really helps us out here on Locked On Phillies. And today, we forego evaluating players from the 2023 season to bring you Instigate, which I'm basically just shortening Instagram to Instigate. And I could have gone with Joc Gate, but that felt too short. Pederson Gate is too long, so we settled on that. But really, the name fits because Joc Pederson instigated a whole uproar from the Philadelphia Phillies fan base today. If you haven't seen what happened, Joc Pederson on his Instagram page posted a picture of him standing next to the Philly Fanatic. The Fanatic, like, playfully looks like he's choking him or grabbing his head and messing with him, doing Fanatic stuff. The song that was playing over the Instagram post, because you can add songs to the Instagram post, was Callum Scott's Dancing on My Own. And then on top of that, the caption said, "It's always sunny in Philadelphia." Basically, take the pandering that like Bryce Harper's been doing the past couple of years, throw it all together on one free agent, and just smash it on an Instagram post. And that's what Joc Pederson did. And his location was listed as Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, all this stuff. So everyone goes, oh, okay, well, Joc Pederson's coming to Philly. He's signing with the Philadelphia Phillies. Why else would he post that? And then as social media gets wind of it and there's buzz flying around and people are tweeting, yes, Joc Pederson, Phillies, all this stuff. The Phillies come out and say, yeah, no, we haven't even talked to Joc Pederson. We're not signing Joc Pederson. We have not signed Joc Pederson. Don't know what that Instagram post is about, but that is not coming from us because he is not a signed member of our team. So now everyone's like, what in the world's going on here? And I don't know. Maybe I'm getting played. I find it very, very hard to believe that Joc Pederson just woke up today and decided that he was going to post something to mess with all of the Philadelphia Phillies fans. It's not like he has connection to the area or anything like that. Like, no, he's been West Coast for a lot of his career. And we hadn't heard any rumors about Joc Pederson to the Phillies, so it's not like he knew that. I guess he just woke up and decided, I'm just going to mess with the Philadelphia Phillies fans and post this Instagram post. Like that would be the argument against something happening. I don't know why he'd do that. I don't know why he'd pick us. I don't know why he would go about it that way, unless what it is he's just like trying to force the hand of a team to sign him. That'd be an insane move, right? Could you imagine if a free agent just is like, I haven't talked to this team, but I want to go there. They don't want me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tweet something out and says, I'm signing with so-and-so so that they feel the pressure from their fan base to sign. Like, would he do that? Could anyone do that? Like, that's insane, but maybe. I mean, did he wake up just to troll the entire Phillies fan base by posting that? I guess. It's not like he's done it to other fan bases, though. So why us and why now? Like, the logical explanation is that he talked to the Philadelphia Phillies. They came to an agreement. They said, don't say anything. And then he posted that and was just jumping the gun. And then the Phillies had to go through a bit of a PR media storm and basically covered up until they are actually ready to announce a signing. That would be what makes the most sense. That would be what would seem the most realistic, right? Is that he just jumped the gun on the announcement of his signing. But we found out over the years in Philadelphia sports and just years in social media, the most realistic, logical explanation is not always the one that is the correct one at the end of the day. So could he be trolling? Absolutely. Could he be trying to force the Phillies' hand into signing him by having the fan base riled up in favor of him? Possibly. Could he, I don't know, just like Philadelphia a lot? This is such a weird story, man. Can't we just have a normal darn day in Philadelphia sports? Who does this if they're not signed? And why do the Phillies then immediately come out and refute whether or not Joc Pederson's here? It's one of the big stories in baseball today, and certainly one of the big stories in the city's sports scene today. And it doesn't add up. It's this whole conspiracy theory. And now multiple beat reporters are tweeting that the Phillies haven't even had contact with Joc Pederson. So basically, do you believe the Phillies and what they're saying, or do you believe your gut in looking at that Joc Pederson Instagram post and saying, well, it contains 5 or 6 different references to Philly? It's a pretty pointed Instagram post. Why would he post that if he's not signing? I don't know. That's just the logic behind it. And it's a very, if he ends up not signing with the Philadelphia Phillies, he's going to become an all-time villain here in Philadelphia. Not because of any type of play or anything, but very much in the same way that Frank Gore will live in infamy for signing for 2 hours with the Philadelphia Eagles, or saying he was signing and then leaving and going to Indianapolis. Maybe that's what this situation ends up being. And every time he comes here for the rest of his career, Phillies fans boo him relentlessly. Or maybe this ends up being a thing, and maybe we hear a story come out that he thought they had a deal done, but they didn't. They were told not to talk about it, and he did. I have no idea how this is going to play out at all. It's just this kind of stuff doesn't happen. Could you imagine telling everybody you're starting at a company, starting a job at a company that never offered you a job and you never interviewed for? It's just what type of unhinged behavior is that? I don't understand how that would possibly benefit him, in the real world. I get the thought process of, forcing a team's hand to sign him. I don't think that's realistic. I get the idea of, I'm just going to troll a fan base for no reason. Okay, but why and why now? It just doesn't add up unless there was some type of communication between Joc Pederson and the Philadelphia Phillies. I feel like a detective at this point. And trust me, we've already had with the Philadelphia 76ers a couple years ago plenty of detective work to do on Twitter, tracking down a GM of the team's burner accounts, ripping some of his star players. Weird stuff happens on social media in this city, and this is just the latest in that chapter. So Joc Pederson, again, posting on his Instagram with Dancing on My Own as the song playing over it, with him and the Fanatic, location Philadelphia, the caption, "It's always sunny in Philadelphia." Very, very pointed, especially for a free agent. And yet the Phillies say they've had no contact and they're not signing him, and he is not signed as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. Okay, whatever you guys say. I don't think he just woke up and posted that for no reason. That's the camp that I'm in right now, and that's the universe that I'm going to live in, is that there's something there. It might be minimal, and it might not result in Joc Pederson being a member of the Philadelphia Phillies, but there's something that caused him to post that today. And maybe we'll find out one day, and maybe we won't. But coming up, as I live in the world that I believe there's some type of reason for that Instagram post, we're going to have a discussion about whether or not Joc Pederson would be a good fit in Philly with this team. Would that make sense? Would it work for the Philadelphia Phillies to sign Joc Pederson? Well, we'll have that discussion coming up and break down some numbers and everything like that and where he would potentially play as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Jase Medical. I know we come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life, but can we just talk for a minute about preparing for tough situations? You might be on extended travel. You might be bracing for a major weather event. We get a bunch of snow this time of year. Or you might be limited by yet another supply shortage. Well, you're covered. You are. And that's thanks to our partner at Jase Medical. They've got life-saving antibiotics and a long list of daily medications that can be ordered in a 1-year supply, even ED generics like Cialis or Viagra. Jase Medical has the Jase case, which is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, a whole bunch of stuff that you do not want to have. This stuff could happen to any of us, though. So visit jasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. So what it is, it's going to be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. You save money. You have assurance that your medication is going to be there. I mean, come on. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. So go to jasemedical.com, and you can use offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. Okay, so as we continue to talk about the weird, wacky world of today's sports and Jock Pederson's Instagram post and whether or not he's signing with the Phillies, which apparently the Phillies say no, let's live in the world where there is something going on. And maybe he jumped the gun. Maybe there were preliminary conversations and they halted, and he wants to try and restart them by posting this Instagram post. I don't know. I honestly have no idea what's going on, but let's assume there's some interest from both sides, and there's a potential that Jock Pederson could actually end up in Philadelphia. What does he bring to the table? Well, last year was a down year for him. He spent the last 2 years out in San Fran. The year before that, split time between Chicago and Atlanta. And prior to, he had spent 7 seasons with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So West Coast for a lot of his career. I mean, 9 of his 11 years pro have been in either LA or San Fran. So, yeah, not really an East Coast guy, not really a guy that's been over here and playing over here. He went to Palo Alto High School in California. I mean, he's a Cali guy. So the question is, does it make sense that he wants to come over to the East Coast? That's the first thing. I think that's sometimes overstated. So I'm not too worried about the geography, but the point is he hasn't really been over here. So if he is indeed a fit for the Phillies, it'll be a new scene for him. And he was an all-star back in 2022. He's been an all-star twice in his career, in 2015 and in 2022. He's had some really strong years power-wise. So he's a lefty bat, an outfielder that's versatile, has played a little bit of first base, throws lefty, bats lefty, has a total of 186 career home runs. His high water mark was 36 homers back in 2019 for the Dodgers. But when you look at his homer numbers over the course of his career, he's cleared 25, 4 times. But those were all back pre-2020. So when you look at what he's done recently, he had 23 last year with the San Francisco Giants. And this past year, he had 15. So a little bit of a drop-off. The average is not anything to write home about, right? He's 274 last year, 235 this most recent year. He's not an average hitter. He's a guy that's going to hit for power, but he's a guy in Citizens Bank Park that you're going to be looking at as just a mashing left-handed bat. And I also don't think that he would be your best defender out in the outfield. I don't. I think if you had an outfield of Marsh and, well, you know what? You got to think about how this works. That's the key, right? We talk about the logjam in the outfield. So if Johan Rojas is not ready for everyday Major League Baseball, then Jock Pederson makes a whole lot of sense, right? Because then you can place Marsh in center, Jock Pederson in left, keep Castellanos in right, and then you have another power bat out there in the outfield in a spot where you didn't have a bat last season. Okay, makes sense. The defense takes a step back from having Rojas, but a step up from having Schwarber last year, because not a single player in baseball is as bad defensively as Kyle Schwarber. So that would seem to make sense. I can kind of understand that. And I could also understand if it was a rotation to get Johan Rojas sometime, but he's not playing every day. If Jock Pederson's a bench bat, he's a pretty darn good bench bat to have as a lefty to come off the bench and have the opportunity to hit the ball out of the yard. Yeah, certainly could be a fit for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's 31, so he's not over his prime yet. He's probably at the back end of his prime, but he's a guy that's still been productive. And yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what the level of interest is there, but when I look at Jock Pederson's ability, adding power, it fits with the Phillies' philosophy, right? They're just a team that tries to outmatch you. They don't really care as much about defense. They've proven that by the acquisitions the past couple of years. And Jock Pederson fits that bill. So would he work here in Philadelphia? I have to imagine he would. You're not really getting another average guy, though. And the fan base has talked about, and Dave Dombrowski a little bit too, who's being more consistent in the postseason. Low average means low consistency. That's just exactly what batting average talks about. How average, or what percentage of the time really you get a hit, and his is low. So do you want another Kyle Schwarber out there as far as hitting is concerned? He's a better defensive player, but it wouldn't be a bad thing. I'm just saying it's not going to be like, oh, Jock Pederson's perfect. He's a perfect fit. He's going to hit for average. He's going to hit for a little bit of power. He's going to fill a hole in the lineup. Like, he doesn't fill a hole in the lineup. He gives you more of the same, but the Phillies have been winning with what they've had. So does that work? I'm inclined to say yes. I'm inclined to say the Philadelphia Phillies are a better team if their outfield is Peterson in left, Marsh in center, Castellanos in right, than if it's Rojas in center, Marsh in left, Castellanos in right. Because I don't believe that Yohan Rojas is a true major league hitter yet. And Jock Pederson has been an all-star twice in his career. That guy's a true major league hitter. So, I mean, we'll see if the Instagram post pays off, but it seems to be that Jock Pederson would be a fit for Philadelphia. Now, are they interested in signing him? I know that they have to sign some bench pieces, some bullpen pieces. They got to figure out what's going on in the back of the bullpen with Craig Kimbrell's departure. They have to figure out how they're going to up the depth of this team, and Jock Pederson could help with that, because if he plays, that moves Rojas to the bench, or maybe moves Rojas to AAA, which doesn't really help with the depth of the team, but takes Jake Cave out of the equation, which Philadelphia Phillies fans should be happy about. That would be a step in the right direction. I don't know. It seems to make sense a lot for me for Jock Pederson to become a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't know the amount of money he'd be commanding as far as his contract this past season. Let me see if I can try and figure out exactly what he made this past year with the San Francisco Giants, so we can give you a general idea of what he could possibly be commanding for free agency. So in 2023, he made about $19 million. That's pricey. But he didn't really finish out his contract year this last year with a strong season. So maybe you can get him for 15 a year. Let's see. I don't know. So 3 years, 15 mil. What is that? $45 million deal. 3 years, 45 mil. Get him till he's 34. I don't hate that. Like, that would probably be right around what I'm looking at. Maybe 3 years, 60. That feels pricey to me to put him at the 20 mil mark after he kind of underplayed his contract this last season. But it's not an amount of money that the Phillies can't spend. I don't know. A lot of this seems to, as I look more into it, a lot of stuff about Jock Pederson seems to make sense for the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, will they do it? I don't know. We're going to talk coming up about some other rumors from the winter meetings. And it sounds like the Phillies are being very conservative about their approach this offseason, which is something that if you've been listening to this podcast, I've been telling you is the expected avenue for the Philadelphia Phillies to pursue. Not anything crazy. The Aaron Nola move was the big move, and then it's finding other pieces. Now, there were some talks about them still being interested in another top starting pitcher and everything like that. That would show that they're willing to spend some more money, but it also seems to be an unlikely outcome. A possibility, but an unlikely outcome from this offseason that they do get another one of the top starters out there on the market or make a trade for one. So it seems that the Phillies are going to be quieter on the baseball landscape when you look at their potential moves the rest of the offseason. And would that still cover signing Jock Pederson? Maybe, but that would be a little bit splashier than I guess. I don't know. Signing another starter, I guess, would be a splash move unless they're playing him on the bench as a bench bat at 31, turning 32 years of age and letting the young guys play. This Instagram post is just throwing a monkey wrench into the entirety of the Philadelphia Phillies offseason. And Dave Dombrowski, a guy that likes to move in silence, well, he may have just had his whole plan put on blast, and they might be trying to scramble and figure it out. But I think Jock Pederson would work here. I think he'd be a nice fit. I think he could even start for this team in the outfield, and I think he adds a little bit more pop out there, which is needed in an outfield that when Kyle Schwarber isn't out there for the best. They don't have a lot of pop. Marsh doesn't have pop. Rojas certainly doesn't. Castellanos is more of a double hitter. It seems like it makes sense the more I think about it. So will Jock Peterson end up being a Philadelphia Philly? Who knows? The reports today say they haven't talked to him, but maybe a dialogue will begin as the offseason continues on. Coming up on the other side as we wrap up, we're also just going to talk about some other rumors from the winter meetings as we're on the final day of baseball's winter meetings down in Nashville. We'll talk about that as we continue Locked On Phillies. All right, last day of the winter meetings. A lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts. The Phillies have done nothing besides get trolled potentially or have their business leaked by Jock Peterson on Instagram. But there have been some Phillies-related news. So it doesn't sound like the Phillies are bidding in the top market for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I would say that pipe dream's dead. That's just me. Who knows if there's a last-second change, but it sounds like they're not in that conversation. It also sounds like the Phillies are not pursuing any other like top-of-the-line free agents. Shohei's not realistic, never has been. It sounds like Juan Soto is going to New York, not the Mets, the Yankees. I feel like I might have gave people some heart attacks there. The Yankees seem to be in first place in the Juan Soto trade sweepstakes, so we'll see. Jake Cronenworth is a guy that now the San Diego Padres have said is also on the trading block, so who knows if the Phillies are interested there, but they don't seem to be poised to make another splash move. And the other Philadelphia Phillies news, Bryce Harper wants an extension, and I've seen multiple articles about this. Now, we're going to break this down in a full episode at some point this offseason because I don't see this extension coming soon, but I do want to talk about the ramifications of it and how it changes the structure of the Philadelphia Phillies roster by giving Bryce Harper the extension he wants. But he's already got a long-term deal. So the fact that he wants an extension now is going to be met with a little bit of pushback from Dave Dombrowski and John Middleton. Now, they want him here, and Dave Dombrowski said his intention is that Bryce Harper never plays in another uniform besides the Philadelphia Phillies one for the rest of his life. And I firmly believe that that's going to be the case. But there's a time and a place for things, and you have to kind of work out, is now the right time for this extension? What's the monetary side look like? So there's that whole conversation that needs to be had. Zach Wheeler's contract is coming up after this year. Is he going to get an extension this offseason? Haven't really heard anything about that, but the winter meetings, big rumors is that the Phillies aren't chasing down any of the top dogs. They're not going big fishing. They're catching bait fish, and then they're adding them to a lineup that already has a bunch of monsters. And maybe that's the right way to handle it. That's the way I expected them to. I expected it to be more conservative offseason because, frankly, you've already gone out and signed top players at a lot of positions in past years, and now you just have to fine-tune the edges to see if you can find a way to win. So while some teams are cooking at the winter meetings, nothing really to speak of for the Philadelphia Phillies besides the phantom Instagram post by Jock Peterson and what it could possibly mean. If he does end up here, I think he's a nice fit. If he doesn't, what in the world were we doing? Like, why was that posted? I don't know. Everything will come out in time, but a very, very interesting day in Philadelphia Phillies social media world as the winter meetings come to a conclusion and the Phillies left really not doing anything. So we'll keep you updated on any news and rumors we hear the rest of the way. But tomorrow, barring Jock Peterson signing, we're going to jump back into the player evaluation. So let me know in the comments of this episode who you want me to evaluate next as we do the 2023 season evaluations for Philadelphia Phillies players. A lot of bullpen pitchers that we haven't gotten into yet. So go ahead and you can pick one of them or find some bench bats. We did Edmundo Sosa the other day in our most recent episode. Let me know who you want to have evaluated next when it comes to the Philadelphia Phillies 2023 team. Again, that's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff. I'm Connor Thomas. This is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'll talk to you next time on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.